What's up, Gator Nation? We've got just a couple days left until National Signing Day, and recruiting is starting to hit the home stretch. And Florida just came off of a big weekend of visits. And we had quite a bit of guys on the University of Florida campus who are considering playing their college football at the University of Florida. Some of them currently committed to Florida, some of them not. One of those visitors who is committed to the University of Florida, quarterback Jake Allen, is here to help me recap it and break it all down. What's going on, Jake?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course. Not a problem at all. So start by telling me, in simple terms, how did your visit go?
Overall, it was a great time. They really showed my family, and, I've been up there 100 times, so it was really just getting around and, getting everything paid for and eating some good food. But, really hanging out with the guys for the first time. I've never really hung out, most of the 17 commits. So it was good to get around them, learn about them, and recruit a little bit.
Nice. So let's go through it a little bit. How exactly did you spend that time in Gainesville?
Just learning about the other guys. It was more, I changed my visit date to, last weekend so I could be around a lot of the commits and be around a guy like Elijah, the D tackle that, we're trying to get, and CJ Henderson, and just guys like that. So just getting around them, learning more about Zachary Carter, all those guys, and, hanging around them, learning more about them, learning, some of the, we got to hang out with some of the players. So just overall, there and really just feeling like a part of the team. So it was a really good time. Got to hang out with the guys, and overall it was definitely a great visit.
So what exactly did you learn about some of your potential future teammates?
Just that they're just a bunch of good guys. I've never really had, other than some conversations on Twitter and texting, I've never really known anything about them. Like Malik Davis, the running back commit. Daquan Green, Zachary Carter, TJ Moore, the big old lineman, Nick Smith. I mean, all these guys, they're just a bunch of good dudes that I can, see myself playing with for the next 4 years and winning a national title with. So, just overall, just a bunch of good dudes. And, I never really knew. I always just thought there were some, football players, but, they're really good people.
So, as you mentioned, you've been to UF a ton of times before. And you alluded to the fact that it was a little different for you this time because you got to know a lot of different players. But for you personally, for you, Jake Allen, what exactly made this visit different than all the others?
Probably the biggest part was just getting to sit down with Coach Nutt and talking, actually football. We weren't recruiting, it wasn't, the normal, deal. So we got to talk, sit down and talk, football, talk offense, talk, plays, talk everything. So that was definitely one of the coolest part, get down and actually talking ball. So that was definitely fun. And just, being around Coach Mack, we got to go to his house on Sunday for brunch and the coaches, learning more about them. And it wasn't so much like a recruiting, but it was more just learning about them and them learning about me. And, it was overall an awesome visit.
So before we get into you recruiting other players and what you think of them and so on, was there anything else that you were looking for at the University of Florida on this visit? You alluded to your discussion with Coach Nuss and getting to know the players a little bit earlier, but, I mean, for you personally, was there anything you were hoping to accomplish or see?
Oh, yeah, of course. Just recruit. Just get some of those guys that aren't on board. And, I think, Zach Carter, Quan, Malik, all of us, I thought we did a really good job of doing that and making sure those guys are, heading to the swamp next year.
All right, so now we're going to get into the stuff that everyone is probably looking forward to hearing. You recruiting other players. That's what everyone on social media is discussing. Who can Jake Allen bring into Florida? Who can Zach Carter bring into Florida? Who can Daquan Green, Marco Wilson persuade to come to the University of Florida? So who were you most after? And who do you think you resonated the most with?
Well, just solidifying more. It's hard for him right now because you don't have an offensive line coach on staff right now. So just make sure he's comfortable with everything, and because he's a dang good player that we're going to need moving up forward. And a guy like Nick Smith, that dude's a headhunter. just being on him, making sure he knows what's up, and I think we did a good job with Nick. So I don't think we have to worry about Nick going anywhere. And Elijah, that big D tackle. I mean, the list goes on. T.J. Slayton, C.J. Henderson. I mean, all those guys. We did a really good job. Carter. All the commits, Marco, all of us, just making sure we showed them that this is a family. It's not a regular school with just a bunch of football players. We're going to be brothers the next couple of years, and we made everyone know that.
Okay, so I completely understand why you think it's a family. A lot of people at their current schools think that, my team's a family, we're brothers, and that's great. But what exactly makes this group of guys and this school your family?
Because we're going to be sweating, we're going to be bleeding, we're going to be, all that stuff together. This isn't, pretty much, it's just the way you look at it. Because we're going to be going through a lot of stuff together. We're going to be going through adversity. We're going to be going through success, and that is a true brotherhood. You got to pick each other up when you guys are down, and that's basically what's going to happen. We haven't hit adversity yet, obviously, because we haven't played it down in football yet. But just these are guys that that once you strike, problems that we're going to push forward, and really good group of guys, and the coaches were asking me, what do you think? Do we have a good group of dudes and blah blah blah? And I really think we could have a better group of guys committed, and I got along with every single one of them. There's not a guy that I could say I didn't truly get along with, and really enjoy my time with.
Who do you think that Florida can eventually pull from this past weekend?
I think I'm not just saying this to say it, but I think we get all of those guys, the uncommitted guys. All the committed guys, I'm really feeling strongly about C.J. Henderson. I'm feeling strongly about T.J. I'm feeling strongly about Elijah. I'm feeling strongly about Nick Smith. All those guys. T.J., I mean, we all had a great time together, and I can't see them going anywhere else. And that's real.
I appreciate the honesty, man. I've always appreciated the honesty from you. So, what did you think of the basketball game that you attended? Factoring in the result, what do you think that helped do with the uncommitted players?
Just that little stadium had an NBA feel to it. It wasn't the typical college atmosphere. I mean, they packed the whole stadium, the whole, they redid it, so it was beautiful. And just so that, they get around and see that, Florida's good in every sport, and that's just football, Granted, we lost to a team that we shouldn't have lost to, but, that happened. Overall, it's just a fun time. We got to hang around each other, just really just spend time with each other, and that's the biggest thing, I believe.
So, in somewhat unrelated news, Kai Leon Herbert and Mike Harley have both backed off of their commitments, and now, what do you think about Florida's chances of landing them?
After talking to Kai's, he's going to see how his in-home visit goes because, Florida does not have a offensive line coach on staff right now. So he's going to talk to Mac and sit down with Nuts and all those guys and, talk about his future and what's going forward with him. I feel strongly about Kai. Kai and I are really good buddies. So, but Kai's got to do what's best for Kai. And, we're going to sit down and talk with Kai. And I truly believe that, the University of Florida is going to be a perfect situation for Kai. But, we'll see going forward after his visit. And with Mike, I know Mike and Coach Dixon were going to talk last night. I let Coach Dixon know, and I know Mike and him were going back and forth. But, we'll see. I haven't heard much from Mike. His phone's probably blowing up right now with the whole decommitment thing. Everyone's asking what's going on. So, I'll talk to him more once everything dies down. And, the plan was hopefully to get him up for an official this weekend.
So, again, you were not the only Gator commit on campus. We had several others who are currently committed, such as Daquan Green, Zach Carter, Marco Wilson, Malik, and the list goes on and on and on. So, aside from yourself, which of them do you think is the most vocal recruiter?
I got to go with Zachary Carter. That's my guy. It's not a knock on anyone else. I love Daquan. I love Marco. Malik, all those guys, DJ, all those guys, they're all my boys. And but Zach Carter, we just have the same type of personality. We're outgoing. We like to talk. We like to, talk about things we're passionate about. So, definitely Zach Carter.
So, what do you think the other, not including Zach Carter, what do you think the other guys' pitch was to the players, the uncommitted players?
Well, I know Marco was with DJ Henderson. pretty much the whole time. So he was just, talking about the whole DBU thing and all that. So Marco had CJ, and I know Daquan, low key has a really good relationship with James Robinson, and I really think Quan is one of the bigger reasons why we're getting J. Well, hopefully, I really think we get J. Rob, but Daquan is a huge part in getting J. Rob. So, believe it or not, Daquan gets a ton of credit, and Malik's just an awesome dude. He's just talking to everyone, but all the guys in our camp, they, anything, I think they're all just a really good group of dudes, and I wish everyone could really see that.
So maybe we can sort of try to help people see that. What do you think is each of their most important traits?
Well, just we're all just, we all got a good sense of humor. We could get a good laugh in, and long story short, it was funny. We were in the media room, doing like fake interviews and stuff, just as a joke, just having some fun. And Elijah, the big D tackle from Virginia, he, we were doing like the weather, talking about the weather, and Elijah, I'll never forget it. He was explaining like the future weather forecast for Gainesville, and he said hard precipitation. So all the commits, we were dying. We were giving them so much stuff, just so much crap. Hard precipitation. What does that even mean? I don't know. It was just funny. We were all just having a good laugh. We all just had a really good weekend. There was not a quiet moment with us. We were all just having, a good time. And this is a real band of brothers. And, I can't wait to get up there and grind with them.
Yeah, I saw that picture of you guys all in the UF newsroom. That was pretty cool to see. I had no idea that was that there was a story behind that. That's pretty funny. So now we are very close to National Signing Day, and I have to ask you: do you think that Florida is in jeopardy of losing anybody who's currently committed?
No, I don't think so. Things can happen. But as of now, I don't think we lose anyone. I think all of our guys are as strong can be. So I'm not worried about anyone really going anywhere else. And overall, I think we're going to have a top 10 class.
All right, so now I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Who does Florida close with in this class? Go for it.
I think we end with J. Rob. I think we get Nick Smith. I think we get Elijah Conliffe. I think we get trying to think who else was DJ. I think we get TJ Slayton. I think we get Kai. The list goes on and on.
Harley?
That's just off the top of my head. But I legitimately believe that we get all those guys, and I think it's gonna happen.
Harley?
I think that's 50-50 right now with Florida and Miami right now. Obviously, I want the guy, but he's real tight with Miami right now, and I'm gonna do everything I can in my power to get him in a Gator jersey.
What do you think of the Gators recruiting class as it stands right now?
I think it's special regardless of stars, rankings, whatever the heck, Rivals, 24/7 Scout, whatever they want to put us at. I think we're much better than that. And you can see Coach Mack's done with quote unquote 3 stars, 2 stars, whatever you want to call it. I think Coach Mack could really see talent past the regular eye. You see with a guy like Callaway, TJ McCoy, I think that's his name, the starting center. No one knew these guys' names, and they're going to both end up being first or third round draft picks. So, it's hard to say. It's hard for the regular fan to see it, but I think this class is definitely top 10 class the way it is now. And if we close it the way I think we're going to close, I think it's going to be one of the best classes in the country.
For sure, Florida has had a lot of success with 3-star guys. David Reese to add to that list. Jared Davis a few years ago, 3-star. No one really wanted him. Now he's going to be first or second round draft pick. He's a star by any definition of the word. And I think you're right to a very large degree that there's a lot more to see about a player than stars. You got to watch the tape, and you know what? 4 years from now, you come back and you see how we did. I think that's how you judge a recruiting class, and I think that at the end of the day, Florida is going to wind up with a pretty good one. Jake Allen, thank you so much for coming back on and speaking to me about this. And hey, you got a few more days left to do your thing, and hopefully you can help us close pretty strong.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.